our political director. And these are our members, Carlos Corderos, Josue Diaz, our organizer, Joel Salazar, and Saul. Yeah, thanks to you. And how are you? Oh no, my God. Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah, stay strong and healthy.
He's not
Not at all.
shy. You look hard.
We are so grateful for you, and yeah, I mean, this is our members of this.
Okay, great.
Let's stand up.
Yeah, please.
Vamos como estamos. Como estamos, como estamos. Más cerca de la columna.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and thank you all so much for joining us today as we reintroduce the Climate Resilience Workforce Act. And I am so grateful to be joined by Saket Soni, by Latanya Sylvester of Resilience Force, by resilience workers Josue Diaz, Carlos Cordero, Saul Hernandez, and Joel Salazar, as we discuss what is without a doubt one of the most important issues of our time, and that is the climate crisis. We all know that climate change will have devastating and widespread effects on our country, our states, and our cities. And we know this because we see it time and time again. In 2022, there were 18 major climate disasters across our country that cost more than $175 billion in damages. And it feels like these disasters are happening more and more frequently. We're not even surprised, unfortunately, when we see them because they are. Whether it's the wildfires in Maui, the flooding in Florida and North Carolina, or a rare hurricane that's battering the California coastline, there is no question that the climate crisis is here. It is affecting weather in a very serious way, and it is an opportunity for a different path forward. In fact, with 3 months left of 2023, we have already broken the record for the largest ever amount of billion-dollar weather and climate disasters. And while it's easy to look at these disasters in terms of dollars and cents, that is not how we should be looking at it. We should be looking at it in terms of people's homes, in terms of people's lives, in terms of our communities that are just left devastated. And as we see disaster after disaster, it's also clear that it is our low income communities and our communities of color that are continuing to bear the biggest share of the burden. So it is more important now than ever that we build a more climate resilient society, even as we continue to push for action and investments that ward off the worst effects of the climate crisis. It is about reacting, yes, but it is also about proactive behavior that can move us forward. So, what does this incredible piece of legislation do that these amazing folks have spent time building and putting together with me? First of all, it will create a workforce that can help us not only react to, but also prepare for climate disasters across the country by creating millions of good climate resilient jobs. And to make sure that anyone can get a job in climate resiliency who wants one, my bill also creates new workforce development programs and it funds existing ones. Formerly and currently incarcerated individuals and undocumented immigrants play a critical but unfortunately unrecognized role right now in supporting climate resilience, from fighting wildfires to helping communities prepare for and recover from climate disasters. And yet, despite this critical role, they face significant barriers to employment and threats to their health and safety. So, my Climate Resilience Workforce Act removes barriers to employment in climate resilience jobs that are based on immigration status or criminal history. It also creates an Office of Climate Resilience in the White House that would center planning, worker protection, and equity, and it would invest in the development of regional, state, and local and community-based planning for climate resilience action plans that actually identify effective strategies to achieve climate resilience with a focus on the frontline communities who are going to be most directly impacted at the table, not after the fact, but at the table. So this is legislation that is good for our communities. It is good for workers who are too often exploited, workers that you will hear from shortly, who have incredible stories to tell about their commitment to the work, but yet work in dangerous conditions to rebuild communities after tornadoes and hurricanes and other disasters. And what are they rewarded with? Wage theft on the job. That is wrong and it has to stop. So I am so proud to have worked with this amazing team of people to put together this legislation and to fight for each and every one of the folks that are to be affected by this. So with that, let me turn it over. Thank you so much. Let me turn it over to a dear friend, a brother in organizing for a long time, the executive director of Resilience Force, Saket Soni.
Thank you, Representative Jayapal. We are so grateful to have you as a champion. Representative Jayapal has been a fighter for racial justice, for economic justice, for the labor movement, and for all of our communities. And, you know, this is a big day for us because, in human terms, the figure you named, the almost $200 billion of damage from disasters in the United States, that figure in human terms is homes. It's real people, it's real families who are having to leave their homes because of hurricanes, floods, and fires. And when people need to leave their homes, then the ones who help them come back are our members, our workers, the people who are here with me. Without roofs being rebuilt and floors being reboarded and cities being cleaned up, people cannot come home. The lights can't be turned on. And without that workforce, an entire municipality can collapse. Now, hundreds of millions of Americans are recognizing this, and there's a growing conversation as a result about resilience. But resilience can mean different things to different people. It can mean engineering, it can mean spiritual strength. The thing that people rarely talk about when they talk about resilience is the resilience workforce. Few people recognize the workers who are doing the resilience work. And that's why, Representative Jayapal, your bill, the Climate Resilience Workforce Act, is such an important moment of recognition for the people who far too long have gone unrecognized, the workers who have rebuilt city after city in an era of disaster. And one of those workers is here with me today. He's a personal hero of mine. His name is Josué Díaz.
Soy Josué Díaz, muchas gracias. He trabajado más o menos en 8 huracanes diferentes. Y después del huracán Ike, fuimos a reconstruir Beaumont, Texas, y estábamos trabajando en condiciones muy tóxicas para nuestra salud. Estábamos trabajando con llagas en nuestras manos, hongos en nuestros pies. Exigimos porque sabíamos que no era justo y nuestro patrón se enojó. Y a consecuencia de eso pasamos 68 días presos y 2 meses en inmigración. ¿Y cuál fue nuestro delito? Haber exigido nuestros derechos como seres humanos que somos. Muchas gracias.
Hello, my name is Josue and I'm from Honduras. Since coming to the US, I have worked 8 different hurricanes, starting with Katrina. In 2008, after Hurricane Ike, I traveled to Bowman, Texas to help rebuild. I was with a group of immigrant workers, and the company sent us into homes filled with mold and contaminated water. My hands grew blisters. Fungus grew on my wet feet. This happened to all of us. But when we asked for gloves and boots, the boss got angry. He said we didn't deserve anything. When we refused to work without safety equipment and asked for the money he owed us, he called the police and ICE, and we were arrested. I spent 78 days in jail and then 2 months in ICE detention before finally being released. All that time, I was separated from my wife and daughter. And what was my crime? It was asking that I get the same protection and respects that all workers deserve.
Thank you so much, Josue. And now I'd like to introduce LaTanya Sylvester, who's the Director of Political Affairs for Resilience Force, which is, and she is a movement leader and policy advocate with over 17 years of experience in direct service, fundraising, and development and policy analysis. LaTanya.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Representative Jayapal. My name is LaTanya Sylvester. I'm the National Director of Political Affairs for Resilience Force. Around this country, migrant workers and formerly incarcerated people have long done the hard work of recovering after hurricanes and other climate disasters. That's especially true in Louisiana, where I'm from, where undocumented workers played a crucial role in the rebuilding of New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. I know firsthand what that looked like when Hurricane Katrina devastated my home and my elderly parents had to live in Texas for over a year. But who came to our recovery was resilience workers who, with precision and with pride, rebuilt the homes of my parents. Shingle after shingle, nail after nail. They did this with their hard work and dedication to not only to my parents, but to the recovery of New Orleans. I also noticed that migrant workers sometimes suffer exploitation practices that must be that we must head into the future with more frequent and devastating disasters that are upon us. Today, Representative Jayapal reintroduced the Climate Resilience Workforce Act to provide workers with basic workplace protections. Thank you. And in addition to establishing fundamental rights for resilience workers, the act will create an Office of Climate Resilience in the White House, as mentioned by Congresswoman Jayapal, coordinating federal activities related to climate disasters and disaster recovery. It will create millions of jobs for resilience workers, not only that are currently doing the job now, but we'll be recruiting additional workers who are formerly incarcerated. It would eliminate barriers to employment for formerly incarcerated people by awarding grants to contractors that prioritize hiring people with criminal records. So today, along with my colleagues and the great work of Congresswoman Jayapal and the thousands of resilience workers around this country, we stand in support of the Climate Resilience Workforce Act. Thank you.
Muchas gracias a todos. Mi nombre es Carlos Cordero, soy de República Dominicana. Soy uno de los miles de trabajadores que ha trabajado en los desastres naturales. He dedicado toda mi vida a este tipo de trabajos cuando hay desastres naturales. Sin embargo, para el huracán Michael, en 2018, viví una terrible experiencia donde en un momento un policía me paró y me dijo que tenía que irme de la ciudad de una manera de verdad muy poco difícil para mí, porque tenía que dejar de ayudar a personas que también para mí es una gran satisfacción ayudar a los demás. Sin embargo, las familias necesitan de nuestra ayuda y el trabajo que hacemos es muy especial para todos nosotros, como para las familias que nosotros ayudamos. Espero que de verdad que nos apoyen y gracias a la senadora, que Dios la bendiga mucho. Gracias.
Hello, my name is Carlos Cordero, and I am from Dominican Republic. I am one of thousands of resilience workers who help rebuild communities. I have dedicated my life to this work because people who have lived through hurricanes have gone through so much pain and so much loss. Nothing gives me greater satisfaction than knowing that I have rebuilt their homes as if they were my own, with love and care. Yet, there is always fear. In 2018, after Hurricane Michael struck Panama City, I lived there for more than 2 years, where I helped rebuild hundreds of homes, joined a church, and became a member of the community. One day, while I was driving home from church, a police officer pulled me over. Without giving me a reason, he said, "I don't want to see you in this town ever again. If I ever see you again, I will put you in jail. You need to leave." I started to cry. And a few days later, I left the community I had found, a community that still needed my help. Families need our help. The job we do is essential. We just want to do our work without having fear that we will be separated from our own families. Next speaker will be Saúl Hernández.
Buenos días a todos. Gracias. Mi nombre es Saúl Hernández. Estoy aquí, he trabajado en el 2005. Empecé en el huracán Katrina y de ahí tuve la oportunidad de trabajar en otros huracanes como en Florida, y también he trabajado en inundaciones en Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge, Luisiana, y luego también en tornados en Alabama. Ha sido un trabajo duro tratar de remodelar todas las casas. Cuando llegamos a esos lugares, normalmente los encontramos con condiciones difíciles. Ponemos nuestras vidas en riesgo, así como la ponen los policías, los bomberos, los soldados, pero la satisfacción que queda en nosotros es cuando vemos a las familias regresar a sus casas, ver que las casas están preparadas para que los niños puedan regresar a las escuelas, los ancianos puedan tener sus casas. Es un gusto cuando mi oficio es la plomería y es un gusto verlos cuando ellos tienen ya el agua conectada, el gas, y pueden tener agua caliente para seguir con su vida cotidiana. Muchas gracias a todos. Buen día.
So hello everyone, thank you for inviting me to speak with you today. I have been a resilience worker since 2005 after Hurricane Katrina. As of today, I have worked in a total of 10 natural disasters, including hurricanes, floods, and tornadoes. Being a resilience worker is like being a firefighter, a police officer, or even a soldier. We put our lives at risk for others. It is a joy when families get to see their homes again for the first time after we fix them up. We work so hard that when they return home, their lives can go back to normal. Kids can go back to school and the elderly can go have their homes again. This brings me a lot of satisfaction that does not have a price. We do this work because it's the right thing to do, to help people. We do whatever we have to so that families can resume their lives again. We are indispensable. Next, Joel Salazar.
Buenos días a todos. Gracias. Mi nombre es Joel Salazar. Yo he sido trabajador resiliente por 7 años aproximadamente. He estado presente en 18 tipos de desastres naturales. He visto recientemente el último huracán Idalia en Florida, en donde vi personalmente cómo trabajadores sentían miedo de ir a trabajar en la Florida. Imagínense por un momento que estamos en medio de la temporada de huracanes, que un huracán de mayor categoría impacte nuevamente a Florida. ¿Cuántos de nuestros trabajadores se acercarían allí? Ninguno. Todos tenemos miedo, nos sentimos desprotegidos. Entonces, para nosotros es muy importante que este proyecto de ley sea aprobado para que las personas en Florida y los trabajadores como nosotros podamos seguir reconstruyendo las comunidades y devolviéndole la vida a sus hogares. Gracias.
Good morning. My name is Joel Salazar. I have been a resilience worker for 7 years and have worked 18 natural disasters. Recently, a Hurricane Idalia hit Florida, and for the first time, I saw how the workforce was too afraid to go. You can imagine what would happen if a hurricane hit Florida. We are in the middle of the peak of hurricane season. And who will go and rebuild Florida if it gets hit by another hurricane? That is why this bill is so important, not just for our workforce, but for all families, because we need to continue to do our work to help them and rebuild their communities. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I want to just again thank Josue, Carlos, Saul, and Joel for your incredibly powerful stories, but most of all for the work that you are doing every single day to build our communities, to do this work despite all of the challenges that you have, despite the discrimination, despite the barriers. You are the ones who are rebuilding our country. You are rebuilding our homes. You are providing places for people to be able to live and stay. And we should do the same for you. We should make these good paying jobs. We should make these jobs that take away those barriers and that allow people to actually turn the climate disasters into real climate opportunity to create a workforce that is paid and rewarded for what you do every day. So thank you all so much. I'm just so honored to be the champion of this legislation and to work with you every day to get it passed in the House, the Senate, and signed into law. Thank you.
Thank you.